Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. And damn, it's a good weekend of racing. 7 Group 1s, which are all going to be previewed for you. Although Sunday-wise, decks are about now as we're doing it. This is for the Curragh for the 4 Group 1s then. So we're doing a Sunday section in its entirety. So if you're looking for Sunday, skip on. But otherwise, we're going to start with the 2 Group 1s from Leopardstown. We've got Haydock Sprint Cup Day as well. We'll kick off with that as far as the British stuff goes. And a shed load more besides. Steve Jones and Donn McClean are with me to cover all of the action for you. And ITV Saturday is an absolute bonanza with 10 races. So without any further ado, away we go with the Irish Champion Stakes. And anyone well prepared would have got the prices up in front of him. But that's not me. No. So, Donn, take it away first of all. And one thing I didn't think that would be happening is you and I agreeing on the Irish Champion, because I've gone for a British Raider. And I thought, well, he's shorter than I thought he was going to be, Alflaila. I think around about 7.0. But I thought I might be the only one going for him. Don't know why. But go on, take it away.
Yeah, look, it's a hell of a race, Tom, as it always is. I mean, the Irish Champion Stakes, Royal Beret Irish Champion Stakes, it's always a cracker. And we've had some phenomenal renewals down through the years. Aidan O'Brien has won it 11 times, more than any other trainer, and August Rodin, he's back. I think we're back where we were before the Derby. After he disappointed in the Guineas, he came on to the Derby and was really impressed when winning that. Then he disappointed in the King George, and now he's back, and Aidan O'Brien says that he's very, very well and ready to go again. So look, that's a bit of a leap of faith if you're going with August Rodin. He is dropping down in trip, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. Back down to 10 furlongs, he does have pace. And the pace that he showed at the end of the Derby the last time when he beat King of Steel, that was obviously impressive. King of Steel, I thought King of Steel was short enough for a horse who was beaten in the Derby, finished third in the King George last time. And I know he's a fashionable horse and he wasn't beaten far by August Rodin in the Derby, but yeah, I thought he was short enough. And
allow me to give some context on it, Donn, if I can, on that, because you've mentioned prices there. So now I've got them. He's 4.0. Just eased a little. 4.5 Auguste Rodin, 7.0 Alflaila, Nashwa 8.0, Ernesto 8.0, 11.0 Alrifa, and last year's winner Luxembourg. Big prices, Spreewell and Point Lonsdale. Donn.
Yeah, like you can make cases for all them. Ernesto ran a big race last year. He was only beaten a half length by Luxembourg. Maybe he prefers softer ground. Luxembourg, the last year's winner as a 3-year-old, back now as a 4-year-old. You can argue that he's a wee bit overpriced, actually. But no, I like Alflaila probably for similar reasons to you, Tom. I just think he's a progressive horse. His run at York the last day was a really good run. He was in behind off a sedate pace, was 110% or thereabouts was the finishing speed, and Ben Cohen set the pace and Mashur set a good steady pace to suit his own horse. Alflaila was actually last or just about last on the run to the furlong marker. And the pace that he showed, the speed that he showed to pick up My Prospero, like it was a really good performance. My Prospero is a 121 rated horse, and Alflaila, his closing sections were really impressive. He was strong at the line as well, and that 10 furlong trip, he saw it out well, which for a horse who's been competing over much shorter trips, like he won over 6 furlongs on his racecourse debut. So the fact that he was able to see out that trip as well as he did, I think that's obviously a positive, and it's 10.5 furlongs at York. I know it's a stiff finish at Leopardstown, and they're probably going to go fast, so you're going to have to see it out. But I can just see him getting the run of the race as well, Tom. I can see him sitting in behind and drawn stall 7. It's fine. You maybe would prefer him to be a wee bit lower, but it's fine. And I can like the Irish Champion Stakes, it's won or lost inside the final furlong often, and I can see Alflaila finishing off his race well. And the fact that Owen Burrows and the Shadwell team have supplemented him, that's a big positive for me. They obviously think he's up to it, and yeah, I just think he's going to have to improve on his run the last day to win, you would imagine. But he's an improving horse, and I think he's got lots in his favour. He goes well on fast ground as well.
Yeah, I think thought at the back end of last year he looked a very talented horse, and then he had the setback in Bahrain when he I don't know what he did on the training track, but he injured himself, and then I was pretty taken with the comeback run, and it was always suggested that this or the Juddmonte International would be the race, depending on what Mostadaf did, who was their sort of Yard, not Yard, but the owner's first string always in that, and they didn't want to run them both against each other. He is a bit shorter than I thought he might be, but I don't want to back King of Steel because he's still not won a Group 1. And I think the stat is you've got to go back to maybe early 90s, I think, before a horse that hadn't won a Group 1 before he won this race. That horse had also won the Edward VII. I can't remember the name of the horse. And then it may even be before that. August Rodan, I couldn't. And then I think Alflaila is a Group 1 horse in waiting, and he's a backable price to. That's the point against a horse like King of Steel. He's a backable price against him. I think he's rapidly improving, and Owen Burrows he's so good with this type of horse. But look what he did with Hakum last year. I think he had 3 or 4 individual Group 1 winners, all of whom ended up getting injured. But he's a very, very good trainer, and I'm a big fan of the horse. So Alflaila, Wynnum place. Steve Jones.
Yeah, the horse in there has won 3 Group 1s, so that fits in with your stats. Is Nashwa, and she arguably ran a personal best last time out, went second in the Juddmonte International behind Mostadaf, who people keep telling me is the second highest rated horse in the world. So to finish a length behind that one, beating Paddington, I think he's got an exceptional chance, especially as York wouldn't be a track necessarily. She is a bit keen through the early part. She needs something to anchor, not like York where the front runners can get away from you. Luxembourg, you'd imagine, would set a decent enough tempo. Otherwise, they're not going to get the best out of August Rodan dropping back in distance if Luxembourg doesn't set a decent enough tempo. So I just think she's very, very good. I've always liked Nashwa. I thought she was hellish impressive in when dropped to a mile in the Falmouth Stakes. Okay, that's only against fillies, but she proved last time that she can do it always round. I was a little bit surprised. I thought they might stick to a mile after the Falmouth, but she went to Goodwood to try and retain the Nassau Trophy, but she doesn't go on that soft ground. I don't think she totally gets home in over 10 furlongs in soft ground these days. And she showed how good she is last time. I think she's a way too big at 8.0. I think she's got an excellent chance. She's got gears, this horse.
That she does. And there's something about this short straight which I think could really suit. I can definitely see the case for her as well. 100%. Just be against the top 2 in the betting at those prices, probably. Anything else to add to the Irish champion, gentlemen? No. Good. On we roll to the matron. We're going back to the 245. This is the second Group 1. Well, it's the first Group 1 of the day, but 1 or 2 on the day. And done well, top of the betting. So 2.0 to Hera. Homeless Songs, who disappointed in the race last year when beaten at 2.2, is 9.0. Zarinsk improving, certainly since the coming back from Chantilly. 2 from 2 since 9.0. Meditate Blinkers on 12.0. Bigger prices the rest. I'll come to you first, Steve, please.
Yeah, I didn't want to take on Tahira. I think she's very good and she'll probably win. But I thought the beauty with Matchbook is you can bet place only. And I think Prosperous Voyage has got a really good chance of making the frame. And she has got a little bit of an in and out profile. She was disappointed behind Nashwa and the Falmouth when last seen, but she's had a break since then. And her form previously was very good. If you go back to last season, again, she won the Falmouth last season, beating Inspiral. Now, she is flattered by that. Inspiral wasn't on her A game that day. But she's definitely got enough quality, especially on the faster ground, to get into the frame. So I was going to back Prosperous Voyage each way with blinkers on for the first time. And Rafe Beckett, what a season Rafe Beckett's having. The trainers go through hot streaks. He seems to have had one for about 3 months.
Yeah, he's having a phenomenal season. I didn't just copy it. Well, I did copy and paste because you wrote it down first. But
you can't spell prosperous, can you? Even though you've got more money than the rest of us put together. You're the epitome of prosperous.
Then the Deadly Don. No, look at even that painting in behind Don's worth more than my house, I imagine.
And mine's not straight, as it's been pointed out.
Yours is no doubt the front of a poster that you just put in a frame. So I just think she's
Fred Archer.
I just think we know. I think she's just like a silly price. I don't think she'll win. I think Tahira will win, and I almost thought she'd be odds on. I think Zarinsk is like the perfect win place bet. She's improving loads. She's really come into her own since coming back from France. 9.0 win place. I don't think she'll be out the 3. But then I got to Prosperous Voyage, who ground tick, Group 1 winner. All right, was below her best in the Falmouth last time, the race she'd won previously as a 3-year-old. And maybe there was an element of fluke about that. Quite like the blinkers on her. I think the track will suit going forward, although she'll probably have Meditate for company. But Meditate, I think there's a chance that Meditate, well, she'll either come right across and go to the rail, or maybe Rob Hornby will just be able to sit in front. She'll definitely trade shorter, and it's just such a big price. She's a Group 1 winner on similar sort of ground. I really think the Leopardstown track will suit. She looked in good form at the start of this season when winning at Epsom. And since then, I don't think the straight course at Ascot is her bag. Last time was just a little bit disappointing. I thought she'd run a bit better than that. But she was short of room on the rail. So, yeah, massive price, win and place. Are you only backing her in the place market, Steve? Yes?
Yeah, just to make sure she wins. So just put her in the place market.
Donn.
Yeah, this is a hell of a race. Agree on Tahira. Like, it's funny that we all think Tahira is the most likely winner, and none of us are putting her up. She's a superstar, and she could win this impressively. But her presence, I think, obviously makes the place market a wee bit better. So, Homeless Songs is in there as well. She's come a wee bit from left field. I didn't think she was really in the reckoning a couple of weeks ago, and now suddenly she's going really well. Obviously, Tahira's stable companion. She looked like a really exciting filly last season. She's only run once this season. That was in a listed race at the very start of the season when she went down by a neck to Buckaroo. So obviously she's had her issues since then. But Dermot Wells seems to be very happy with her. Oisin Murphy taking the right on her, and Zarinsk, she's a really likable filly. She won the Ingabel Stakes actually on this day last year, the 2-year-olds race. And she's improved this year. The Minstrel Stakes that she won last time, that was actually rerouted from the Curragh, and I don't think she was even considered for the race until it was sent back to Leopardstown, and she took her chance and won it well on easy ground over 7 furlongs. So she does go really well at Leopardstown. Her best form is over 7 furlongs, but she won over a mile at the start of this season when the Guineas Trial beat Curragh over a mile at Leopardstown at the start of this season. So she's a big player. But I do like Just Beautiful. She's on the ground. She's a filly who she was with Ivan Furtado in Britain. She joined Paddy Toomey last year from Wildare Stud. She only ran twice last year, and both runs on soft ground. She ran in the early part of this season as well on soft ground as well in the Athazi Stakes when she was well beaten. But Paddy Toomey's always been saying that wait till you see this filly on better ground. She got it on Irish Guineas weekend last time when she won the Landweight Stud Stakes, a Group 2 race. She was impressive that day. She made just about all the running and pulled clear. So I just thought she was a wee bit under the radar. She doesn't have the level of form, obviously, that Homeless Songs or Tahira have, and she maybe isn't as high profile as Zarinsk is, a improving filly coming into the race. But her run the last day was really impressive. She won well. She won by 2 lengths and probably had more in hand than that. And with the ground the way it is, like it's sunny here as it is pretty much everywhere. It's going to be fast ground on Saturday at Leopardstown, and that was Just Beautiful really well. And yeah, I can see her running a big race.
All right, Just Beautiful. Couple of shouts for Prosperous Voyage as well. Just a left field question, Don, just on Tahira. Has she lived up to her to any expectation you may have had this year?
I think so, Tom. Like she's won the Irish Guineas, she's won a Coronation Stakes, she was only just beaten in the Guineas, so you can't ask for too much more than that. And yeah, like she's, what she did last year, you were kind of looking forward to her this year, and yeah, to win an Irish Guineas and a Coronation Stakes and finish second in a Newmarket Guineas, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, and yet none of us are going with her. But maybe, I guess that's a price thing, isn't it?
2.0, yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. The Sprint Cup next, over 6 furlongs. So this is the 3:35 at Haydock, third Group 1 we're previewing in a row. 1.9 for Shaquille. Millstream is progressive and 12.0. Same price for Sacred, who has the cheek pieces on first time. Spycatcher 13.0. Bigger prices thereafter. I'll just kick off because I'm pretty clear on my thoughts on the race, and that is that Shaquille only has himself that can stand in his way. They're going to take the rug off sooner, apparently, when there's only a couple more to load, I think, and hopefully that'll mean he's sharper away. But I think there's a case. I think he's so much better than these that I will have him on side. I want to back him. If there was anywhere it was going to cost him being slowly away, it was last time, and he was fine. And then if you go back to Newbury, well, he was fine out the gate. So I know there's been an issue, but I'm hoping the Witherfords are going to fix that. Like if he gets away on terms, he suddenly goes to 1.5. So I think it's worth playing at the prices. And the other one I want to back is St. Lawrence, who is unexposed for the yard. Looked a good horse run with Roger Varian, and Archie Watson seems to have taken him to a new level. Well, he's higher rated now than he ever was with Varian. He won on quick ground at Ascot, and he's going to get quick ground again here. Still ran well with cut underfoot, but he's unexposed for this new yard, and the new yard happens to be a master trainer of sprinters. So I thought he was well worth having on side as well. St. Lawrence win and place 15.0. Donn.
Yeah, I agree with him on Shaquille, Tom. Like he's what he's done this season has been phenomenal. Most notably at Royal Ascot after missing the break so badly. So yeah, look, he's I suppose similar to Tahira. He's the one they have to be. He's the most likely winner, but he's short. And I do like regional. I backed him in the Nunthorpe, and I thought 5 furlongs was a strip, but he seemed to. I don't know. It just seemed to all happen a wee bit quickly for him. Now looking a Nunthorpe on fast ground at York, that's going to be very fast. So maybe you can allow him that. And it was likable the way he stuck to his task and the way he kept on to the line. He was kind of closing. He only just missed out on 4th place by a head or a short head. So I think stepping back up to 6 is interesting on fast ground. He does go well on fast ground. He goes well at Haydock as well. He won on his first run for Ed Bethel at Haydock over 6 furlongs on fast ground in September 2 years ago. And his only other run at Haydock was in the listed race earlier this season, which he won well. He won impressively. And then he went on to the Nunthorpe. So I just think maybe even though he's a fast horse, I think maybe back over 6, it will just allow him a wee bit more time to settle into his racing rhythm. He's got a really good attitude. He's got a really nice way of going about him, and he's a fast horse. And back at Haydock, where he's 2 for 2 on fast ground, then yeah, I think he's a wee bit overpriced.
Okay. And shockingly, you agree, Steve. Not shockingly, but this is a big price, and you and Donn are going with the same horse.
Yeah, Shaquille's definitely the best horse in the race. That's obvious. But when you're betting odds on, well, I don't really bet odds on, but if you do, you want everything in your favour. And this horse is doing things the wrong way round, is missing the break quite famously. And you wouldn't want to do that on a sharp track like Haydock. If he does it at Haydock, he's playing catch-up, and it's a big field. It's also traffic problems, and he's also drawn on the far side. And Julie Camacho could be in better form. And I think she or her husband said that they'd had some kind of low-grade virus in the yard. And that's not... There's more reasons to take Shaquille on today than there's ever been, in my opinion. So even though I hope the horse runs really well because I like him and I like the trainer, I think we've got to look elsewhere, and that's comes back to regional. I think, like Donn said, 5 furlongs he's fine at, but whether he's quite wants a sharp 5 furlongs like York, he might want a sharp 6 furlongs like Haydock. And if that's the case, he's definitely improved a lot this season, and that Nunthorpe run shows he deserves his place at the top table. And I think he's, with the favourite taking such a chunk out of the market, I think he's a good bet each way, winning place.
Okay, regional. Well, with an eye on the extra distance, would you be looking to get out in the run, Steve, or not?
Never get out in the run. You don't bet. Well, I don't bet to get out in the run because my fingers aren't fast enough.
No.
Because by the time I've got out, he's either 10 lengths clear or 10 lengths behind, and it's all a bit academic because the price is long gone.
Don't bet odds on, don't get out in the run. That's what Steve Jones doesn't. There you go. Okay.
I'll be getting out in the run tomorrow because I'm playing cricket and my back is so bad I can barely move. So I would definitely be getting out in the run there.
Yes. No.
Yeah, it'd be like playing with you. It will be.
Okay, that is the Sprint Cup done. We go back to the start of the day then. The 150. 2 shots for regional in the Sprint Cup. And tentative selection for me for St. Lawrence and Shaquille as well. Hadn't really thought about the yard form. You've worried me a bit there, Steve. I'm going to look more into that. The Superior Mile then is the 150. I'm sitting this one out, I think, if I remember correctly. Yes, indeed. And you two are with slightly bigger prices than Light Infantry at the top of the betting, who is 3.0, who David Simcock the other day was pointing out that he's running to win, yes, but it's also he needs to run this horse before he goes into quarantine because he's a horse that needs to run as close to going to quarantine as possible. I don't know if that's useful information betting wise. It's sort of half put me off actually. I'd rather back Chindit at 5.5, but I'm not going to. Zoology's 5.5, 7.5 Regal Reality, bigger prices thereafter. Steve,
where's he off to? Like Infantry, Australia?
I think so. He went there last year, didn't he? I think.
Yes. Did he?
Yeah. Yes, he did. He ran in the Golden Eagle for. I think he changed his connections, doesn't he?
Okay.
Yeah, he goes to Kieran Mayer and David Eustace. There you go.
Right. He's been running in much better races than this, and he could easily win. But the one horse that I can't resist is Sabuska, who's always had a lot of class. Now, there's a good deal of pace in here. There's a few of these that like to go forward, and that's kind of his thing. Point Linus will go forward. Light Infantry, you would have thought so as well, and maybe Chindit. So there should be a solid pace on for a horse that does he's kind of came to prominence in those big handicaps where they go a furious gallop, and he used to cruise into it off that. Now he's had a bit of a, as you would expect, a horse that does need a fast pace. He doesn't always get it in group races, but he's got some really decent form when he does, and he won at York over 10 furlongs last summer, but then he had an eye problem. He nearly lost an eye, so he's been off the track a fair while. But it hasn't been like legs and things like that. It's been his eye, which if is solved, and he has won and run well off the back of a break in the past. He's got because he hasn't run since March when he was in Dubai. He could be overlooked. And the other thing is, William Knight has had an awful season, but he's just started to. He seems to have put the trouble. Because there clearly must be, for a good trainer like William Knight, to have so few winners as he has, there must have been a problem. And the horses seem in the last few weeks to be running much better. So I'm taking a chance on Sabuska. I think he's 11.0.
Okie dokie. Good info on the eye. Donn?
Yeah, excellent insight. I think this race is I think it's more open than the betting suggests. Like Light Infantry ran well in the Queen Anne and then wasn't beaten far by Inspire and Deauville last time, but I just think he's a take-on job with an eye on Australia. Chinde was a bit disappointing. I was disappointed with him anyway in the Hungerford Stakes last time. I thought he'd run better. Zoology, we haven't seen him since the Jersey Stakes, and the Jersey Stakes isn't really working out that well. But I take Steve's point on Sir Busker. Yeah, he's interesting at a bigger price. But Regal Reality, I just think he's often an overlooked horse these days. He's 8 years old now. He finished third in this race in 2018, before a lot of his rivals here were born. But he's in tremendous form. That's his only run at Haydock, actually. He hasn't run at Haydock since then. And he won the Diadem Stakes at Epsom, or the Diomed Stakes at Epsom, with a wee bit in hand. He was impressive in winning that day. That was on fast ground. He goes well on fast ground. And then last time at Salisbury in the Sovereign Stakes, they just got away from him a wee bit. He was kind of in behind. The winner, Mighty Ulysses, made pretty much all the running, and Besto was handy as well, the runner-up, and he was just a wee bit behind them. He had to make up a bit of ground into a quickening pace, and he was closest at the finish. He was only beaten a half length in the end. So he comes here in really good form. He goes well on better ground. He's got a nice draw in stall 2 as well on the inside. And like Steve says, there'll be a good pace on which will suit him. And yeah, I just think, as you know, even though because he's 8 now, like he finished 3rd in the Eclipse behind Enable. Like he was a very classy horse when he was at Cheveley Park, but he's in good form now. Obviously, he's not as good as he was, but he comes into the race on a high. And yeah, I think he's been a wee bit overlooked.
Regal Reality and Sabuska. We move on to the 225 at Haydock Park. This is a handicap over a mile 6. 3-year-olds here. It's the 3-year-olds Old Borough, if you like. Nakib is 3.5. Denmark is 4.0. Lordship is 6.5. Blinded by the Lights. Well, look, we're all going for Denmark. So there you are. The team steam, if you will. I was a bit surprised with the huge step up in trip last time in the Melrose, but I mean, it worked. And I think he'll settle better over the distance for a second go at it, because he was just a little bit keen early on. He proved himself on quick ground. That was another worry, and he's like the new kid on this block now, with a bundle of talent and back class, it would seem. So I'd rather back him than Nakib personally, whose form obviously ties him with Middle Earth with Denmark. He has shortened up a little bit than when I put him in. He was around about 5.0, but I'd have him probably at the top of the market. I don't love handicap debutants anyway. I know that's probably a lazy view, but that's what Nakib is. And yeah, Denmark is top weight, but I think he'll take a bit of beating. Donn.
Yeah, like all of that, Tom, is blinkers on for the first time the last day as well. He wears them again today. Aidan O'Brien sending him over. His dam won over a mile and 3 furlongs, so it wasn't surprising that he started the trip well. He and Middle Earth came away from their rivals. He was only beaten just over a length by Middle Earth. Middle Earth's going for the St. Ledger reportedly, and I think Middle Earth probably improved, put up a better performance the last day than he did when Nakib ran him to a short head at Newmarket early in the season. There's no huge angle for me at the price, Tom. He's 4.0 or thereabouts, but he's only run 4 times. He ran in the Ballysacks. He was sent off as second favourite for the Ballysacks Stakes, which is a Derby trial earlier in the season. So obviously they regarded him as that type of horse earlier in the season at Ballydoyle. And yeah, I agree with that the second run at the trip, I think he can improve on that. He's only run 4 times. I suppose a lot of them are unexposed, especially at the trip. But yeah, I just prefer him at a slightly bigger price than Nakib.
And Steve, you agree?
Yeah, all of that, and the fact that he improved stepping up in distance. He's by Camelot, and he's also a half brother to an Australian hurdler that Kieran Mayer brought over a few years ago. He wasn't very good, but that sort of suggests that the stamina is there.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say more. Good stuff. All right, that's the 225 done. Then the Old Borough Cup next, which is the 3 o'clock. And over a mile 6, older horses here by and large. Aztec Empire, who was just touched off by Forza Rota, who reopposes 5.5. Keys Chorister 7.0. Post Impressionist 8.0. Forza Rota is 8.5. Adjuvant is 9.0. Then bigger prices thereafter. Back at you, Steve.
Yeah, Get Shirty is one of those at a bigger price. I think he's 15.0, might even be 17.0. And now his recent form wouldn't be the best, but he was drawn very wide at York in the Ebor, and I know the winner was, but Frankie stayed wide, whereas Danny Tudhope dropped him in right in the rear, and he never really got into it. And the draw's not been kind to him all season, really. He had a wide trip in the Copper Horse, which was a race that he'd won the previous season, and he couldn't get into that behind Vauban. And there's been various excuses this year, but he has become very well handicapped on his last season form. He won 4 out of 5 sort of from spring to midsummer last season, and then came back and finished 5th in the Ebor. And he's not in that same sort of form, but I just don't think he's been allowed to for various reasons. And now the draw hasn't been particularly kind to him again today. He's out in stall 12. But I think there's enough early pace to allow David Nolan to slot in a more prominent position. And if he manages to get an early position, I think he's got a real good chance. He's certainly handicapped that way. And interestingly, David Nolan, jockey, he's got a very good record for David O'Mara recently. He doesn't ride a huge amount of winners these days, but he's got a good strike rate for the yard. And I think Get Shirty's ripe to return to form.
Donn, who are you with in the Old Borough?
I'm with some premise, Tom. His form figures this season are not inspiring. It's 14.979, but I still think there could be a good staying handicap in him. I thought he ran a lot better in the Ebor than his finishing position in 9 suggests. That the winner kind of came across him just inside the 2 furlong marker, and he stayed to the far side. He was looking on. He was only beaten 3 3/4 lengths in the end by the winner. So I wouldn't hold that as a negative against him. And in the latter part of last season, he finished 3rd behind double. Well, he was 4th past the post behind Double Cherry and Sea King at Haydock this around last year, and he probably should have won. He was locked up on the inside, had nowhere to go. Sea King was who reopposed. He was the horse who was in front, and it kind of came across and didn't leave him with much racing room on the rail. Unsurprisingly, Sea King was demoted to 4th, and he was bumped up 1 place up to 3rd. And then he went to York and he won well next time. So he ran in the Northumberland Plate on his first run this season. He was a bit too keen early on. He was beaten at Goodwood on really heavy ground, and in the Curragh Cup he was disappointing there, but. Yeah, and Tom Marcan actually rode him in the Curragh Cup. I'm not certain that it just wasn't his running for whatever reason. The Curragh Cup can sometimes be like that, albeit obviously with foreign-based jockeys sometimes. But I just thought you can put a line through that based on his run in the Ebor last time. And yeah, I just think he's a horse who's can step forward from the Ebor. He's coming into a good time of year. He goes well on fast ground as well, and he goes well at Haydock. So he's got plenty in his favour, I think.
All right, and I've got, I guess, a bit of a silly one here in the form of nearly outsider of the bunch, Enemy at 41.0. I mean, I had a nibble at him in the Goodwood Cup, and he was last. But then they all ran stinkers that day, bar Quickthorn, really. I think the trainer will have had this race in mind for a little while. He has a good record in it. He won it in consecutive years with Rashun in Time to Study a few years back. If you go back to his Maidan form, the start of the season, he won that handicap off, what did he win it off? 108, and beat some good horses. He lines up here off 106. Yes, he's below, just below the Patton Company level, really, although he ran well in a Group 3, although that was still a handicap out in Saudi when finishing 2nd. But go back to his last handicap win in the UK off 99. He's got to be fairly treated here. He chased home Princess Zoe subsequent to that. Quick Ground is fine, and I know he's not in great form. Like, he ran okay at York, but no great shakes. But he's capable of 106, and the fact that it's this race and this trainer, I think 41.0 is worth having a little bit on him. Very much win and place, probably a bit. Well, no, just small stakes win and place. Okay, that is Haydock done and dusted. We now move on to Ascot, the 235. They're big prices here by and large for this 7 furlong handicap. Just Steve and I here, and for the rest of the UK races. Steve, you're with Top Secret. Why?
Sorry, that just shows you why I don't bet in running or bet to lay, because my fingers aren't quick enough to get the mute off, let alone have a bet. Top Secret, I think he's something like 26.0, and he's got a really good record at Ascot. He's got I think it's 2 wins from 4 visits, both over 7 furlongs on decent ground. And I just can't understand the price of this horse, considering, okay, he didn't run very well last time, but that was on softer ground, so I wouldn't hold that against him. But before that, he'd been in decent enough form. And he has been, when he's been at his best, so he won twice at Kempton over 1 mile and 7 furlongs. He does stay for 7 furlongs very well. He gets 1 mile. So the lack of early pace might be considered a bit of a worry. But the flip side of that is, when he won those races at Kempton, he was ridden a lot more prominently than he has been recently. So if he, from stall 2, it's obviously on the straight course, but he can get out and get a decent position, he might be in the right place to strike at a track he clearly likes. So I just thought he was way overpriced in what was a very open race.
Yeah, it is open. It's 7.5 the field. As you say, your selection, Top Secret, 34.0, Steve. And so I've just added another one, producer Dan, by the way. I've talked myself into Mabasha, but I'll come to that. Bless him is the main selection for just obvious reasons. If he won over 7 at Newmarket last year in the Bunbury Cup, he can win over 7 at Ascot. He has won over the mile here, of course. He's not the most consistent, but at this sort of price, on his favoured quick ground with a good straight course ride, although he normally has Jamie Spencer on board, but Hayley Turner's very good on the straight course at Ascot. Off 101, he's very capable, win and place. And Mabasha is the other one who's got good form here in Doncaster. The straight tracks are very similar, both courses, and he comes here in good nick. I like his style for the course. A nice patient ride is normally what he gets, and he's drawn. Well, I think I'd probably prefer to be rail side, and he is, but that's probably me looking to just flesh out my case. 12 and 13 minor drawn, but they're both horses that want to come through horses, so that's a good thing for them. I suppose it's not a massive field, is it, for the nature of this race? They can be bigger, but those are my two against the field. And moving on to the 310 up next. It's only you, Steve. Donn's a no bet. I didn't like the look of this race personally. It wasn't for me. So, oh no, sorry, it's just Donn. Can't read. Donn, just one for you. Take it away.
Yeah, Struth. That's it. It's probably going to be outside of the field as well, but I just think that there are reasons why you can allow him some of his poor runs, which is a dangerous start to any case, I suppose. In the King George Stakes at Royal Ascot, he was ridden too far forward, up with the fast pace. And in the Curragh Cup, on his penultimate run, by contrast, he was ridden well back off what looked like a sedate enough pace, and he did well to finish off the race and get as close to Regal Empire as he did. He was only beaten ahead in the end. He does go well at Ascot. You have to allow him his run at Hamilton last time. That's in the Silver Bell, but I think that disappointing run is factored into his odds. He was beaten at Goodwood as well in that 1.5 mile handicap at the Goat one, but as we know, that was on very bad ground. He ran well at Haydock in the interim in early July. So I think back at Ascot, and if he can just be ridden. If he can be ridden with the pace, it's 1.5 miles. He sees out 1.5 miles well. He does get further. Like, he was only beaten by St. George in a handicap at Doncaster over 1.6 miles earlier in the season, and St. George came out and ran a big race in the Queen's Vase. But I just think that Struth could be bubbling under a little bit. He's down to a mark of 97 as well. He was dropped for a pound for his last run, and yeah, we know that it goes well at Ascot. So I just think he's interesting at a biggish price.
Second outside of the field, Struth at 12.0 for Charlie Johnson and Ollie Stammers. And then we come on to Kempton Park. Going all over the shop today. So the September Stakes, just Donn and I again here. We disagree for the 135. 2.25 is Bay Bridge, my selection. And I'll tell you what Isra is very shortly. I do think it's between those. 4.0. Donn, I thought Bay Bridge would just be too good for Isra. I couldn't have Isra giving Bay Bridge weight. He's been really disappointing, Bay Bridge, I know, and I think he probably wants cut underfoot. I say he's been disappointing. He was second in the Group 1 at the Curragh to Luxembourg. Maybe that's not bad. Bit disappointing last time, but he came back from a break to win well at Ascot. He's had 80 days off. And I basically championed him at the start of the year, saying I think I said he'd turn out the best older middle distance horse of the season, which is absolute bollocks. But I can't not back him at odds against in a September Stakes if I've said that. So Bay Bridge for me, Donn.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that he's getting ready for Ascot again. Like, he was so good at Ascot last year. We would have cut in the ground sooner than there as well. And yeah, look, Israel has to give him £5. He's rated £6 inferior to him, so he'd be meeting him on £11 better terms if this was a handicap, which obviously it isn't. But I just think Bay Bridge might, like, he's had his break since Ascot, And I think that this might be the race that will bring him forward. And this race has history in that regard. I mean, the roll of honour for this race is phenomenal. It's like Mustard won it last year, and Abel won it a couple of times. Obviously, Hamish won it in between. So it's a race that can produce horses who go on or who have come from really big things. And the Goslins, either John and Thady, they've won 5 of the last 7 or 5 of the last 8 renewals. And I just think Israr, yeah, look, he was probably flattered a wee bit. Adayar maybe underperformed in the Princess of Wales Stakes last time, but I think he's an improving horse. Mile and 6 was probably too far for him at York on his previous run, and he beat Adayar well at Newmarket, and they pulled well clear of Global Storm and Grand Alliance, kind of 100 to 110 type rated horses. So I think Israr can come forward again. And yeah, even in conceding the weight, I think he might be a bit of value against Baybridge.
All righty, those top of the market with us, but 2 different horses, Israr and Baybridge. And then the London Miles Series final at Kempton Park is the 210 with Cathab 5.0, First View 7.0, Baltimore Bay is 8.5, 9.0 Helm Rock bigger prices the rest. Steve, over to you.
It's one of those races where I just cannot resist a bet, because this horse is going to get the perfect setup. There's an absolute load of pace in this, and if it is run, it's such a furious gallop. Keyser Soze, 9 years old, the oldest horse in the whole field. He absolutely loves this setup. He's probably at his best at the on the all-weather. He's got a good record at Kempton. He hasn't been at Kempton all that much, which is a bit of a surprise. But when he has been there, he's won 2 out of 4. And he's been 3rd in the other 2. So he's a horse that likes the track. He's going to get the perfect setup in my reading of the race. And he's handicapped to go well enough. So, again, another one at a big price. I think he's 26.0, winning place. Don't turn the telly on until the last 2 furlongs, because you won't see him until very late. But hopefully you'll be seeing him in front.
Yeah, I couldn't have Cathab, and I was tempted with First View, winner of the race last year, but he's not quite drawn as well to dominate, 4 stalls wider than last year in 11 this time. And then I got to Bear Force One, who with this track, I just quite like this time of year, horses coming back off the turf, having had good previous form on the all-weather. 2 runs over here in spring, early summertime, produced a 3rd and a win. And I quite like the Million Thanks form, who he beat. He's £6 higher here, having won at Newbury in between, although it was a weird race where he got a good ride from Machine Murphy. But he's back at a track he likes in his 17.0. So, and he actually ran quite well last time. So I thought Bear Force One was probably the one that was overpriced, but it wouldn't be crazy. It'd just be a win and place shout for me. All right, we got there as far as the Saturday previews go. So now we come to any other bet. Steve and I were taking each other on in the 410, the sprint handicap. I'm with Racel, this is it, Steve. Last chart, I promise. I will never side with him again if he doesn't win this one, but it's all there. So Racel, a track he's won over before. He's well handicapped. Just he's not allowed any excuses this time. And I think he's 7.0, so he's sort of a backable price in a handicap. Steve?
Yeah, I just thought Alligator Alley was very, very solid. He's been in really good form. He was 3rd to Lord Ridderford at Goodwood in a good race when he pulled too hard in the soft ground. He was beaten a neck by Equilateral at York in a really hot handicap. And then last time he won really cosy at Newcastle. I think he's going to get a real nice setup in this race. And just think when he goes past them, he'll be saying, "See you later, I'm Alligator."
Moving on. Matchbook Zero long shot. Markets go live 10 a.m. each day. Matchbook Zero, as you should know by now, if you haven't tried it, please do. You should do, because you're most likely to be getting best odds as you do with the exchange. But there's 0 margin and 0 commission, and the prices match up with the exchange itself. So you're very, very likely indeed, I can't say guarantee, but very likely indeed to be getting best prices. Matchbook Zero long shot, mine's enemy at a silly price in the Old Borough Cup. Donn?
Yeah, just beautiful in the Matron Stakes. I think she's overpriced.
245 Leopardstown. Steve?
Top Secret, who is in the... Where's Top Secret?
Yeah, he's running at
Can't
Ascot. Good stuff.
Yeah, Ascot 235.
235.
Good record at the track.
Just
That's
you
Ascot.
with a lay, Steve. Just you with a lay, which is Shaquille in the Haydock Sprint Cup.
Yeah, I thought about this. I wasn't going to do a lay, and I thought I haven't put up a lay for ages. And there's so many reasons to take Shaquille on. There's one reason to back Shaquille is that he is the best horse. But like I mentioned before, he's drawn on the far side. If he misses the break on a sharp track like Haydock, it could be a different story to the July Cup and the Commonwealth Cup, where he blew the start and they could be gone. He could find traffic if that's the case. It was quite a small field in the July Cup, and he was able to make that ground up that he lost at the start quite easily. And the fact that I think Julie Camacho only had one winner in August, and although she's had one winner in September or maybe more than that, but she's coming off the back of a quiet spell, and I think she's a good trainer. And when a trainer goes quiet like that, it does make me worry. So there's too many reasons stacking up against Shaquille at odds on. So I'm gonna lay Shaquille.
Giles Dexter agrees. Hi, Giles. Wayne, thanks for the questions. I'm going to pose those at the end of the Saturday section. Fear not. Best bets. One in each race. Mine was going to be, or one in hopefully different races, so you can have a Trixie for listeners on the Matchbook Exchange. Mine, Don, was going to be Al Flayler. You've got Al Flayler. I'll go bless him. So, Don?
Yeah, Al Flayler.
Steve?
All of that.
See you later, Alligator Alley. I used that twice. It's so good. I'm going to use that gag twice.
Please do it again. So just before we get to Sunday, then Wayne says, "Why does Steve think Point Lonsdale isn't? Oh, hang on, isn't here if Luxembourg is going to make the running? Is here? Does that make sense to you, Steve?
Point Lonsdale isn't there?
Why does Steve think Point Lonsdale isn't here if Luxembourg is going to make the running?
I say it's in there if Luxembourg is going to make the running. Why is it in there?
So he's saying Point Lonsdale is going to make the running.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah,
it's
but
possible.
Luxembourg go forward as well.
Luxembourg made all the running last year, didn't he?
No,
He was definitely running from early. Yeah.
Well, did he absolutely make all?
No, he didn't make it all.
No, he didn't. He got a beautiful ride. I remember I asked Ryan about it afterwards, and I got about 13, 14 second interview. Go on.
Well, maybe Point Lonsdale will, but he's a bit of a lazy horse, Point Lonsdale. Whether he will or not, Luxembourg made all the running when he won the Tatsel's Gold Cup.
He'll be handy, all right, Luxembourg. But,
and there's not a huge amount of pace. I just thought that the fact that August Rodin dropping down in distance, they're gonna have to turn it into something. They wouldn't want to have August Rodin at the rear and have controlled the pace up front. So I think they'll go solid. Maybe Point Lonsdale will, but I wouldn't trust him really to be able to do it. He's a lazy old boy, is Point Lonsdale, and I think Luxembourg will be there somewhere.
He led in the Derby, Point Lonsdale, so I'm sure he'll be going forward in here.
And then Wayne says the young lad claiming 7 in Ireland has a nice few rides. Do you know who this is, Don? Could be one to watch.
Who's that?
Nick. He says Nick. I don't know if I haven't even checked if this. It could just be putting me away here. Nick Gurr. Good. Wayne, we'll come back to you on that one after the weekend. All right, moving on. Glad we did those. Well, Sunday. So we've got 3 Group 1s. We're just getting the decks. 4 Group 1s. We're just getting the decks through now. Don, I'll let you kick off before I look through the final fields for mine. You've got what? Oh, the 5:45, Don.
Yeah, it's the last handicap of the weekend, the Northfields handicap, and when Take Heart won at Naas there a couple of weeks ago, he just shaped like a horse who was going places. He won his maiden at Dundalk earlier in the season, and was unlucky at the Curragh in August. He didn't have a great run through the race in a 10 furlong handicap there, and then he went to Naas last time, won impressively. He's got £6 for that, which is fine. Johnny Murtha who trains him. I think directly after the race, he did mention this race as a possible for him. And Johnny Murtagh had the 1, 2, 3 in this race last year. He had 3 runners in the race that finished first, second, and third. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's no betting. I haven't seen any betting on it at all, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's favourite. He's just seen here he's got stalled 20, which is probably not ideal. It's definitely not ideal. But I think he's a horse going places, and I'd say Johnny's probably had this race in mind for him for a little while.
It's great when you in that great, Don, when you do the selection before decks and then you look and your horse is drawn 20 23 and you're like, shit. But I'll make the case anyway.
Can't come back now. I'm in too far.
Is that no, hang on. Torsador won it at a 21, One Call Poet 13, Max Mayhem 15, and last year Johnny won it with Kakira at 26.
Yeah, I know it's a funny, like the round course at the Curragh, like it's like Galway, I guess. You kind of, when you see a high draw, you go, so wide. But it depends, it can work out. Definitely at Galway over a mile as opposed to 7 furlongs, you don't want to be in too close to the inside rail. You don't want to be too low. Actually, in the big mile race, the Colin Quinn BMW mile, you actually want to be out wide, like over a mile and a half at Ascot. It's a similar thing.
I've got one bet, and then I'm just going to ask the panel on City of Troy. I like Fallen Angel in the Moy Glare. I think Ylang Ylang is really classy, but this Fallen Angel's form is pretty good. She ran well 2 starts ago when bumping into Ollie Sangster's filly and finishing ahead of Soprano. And then last time she beat Soprano again. I don't want to call Soprano a good yardstick because that's, I know, a dangerous statement. She's a bit of an unlucky filly. But gosh, she ran a blinding race yesterday when missing the kick and then finishing. Basically, I think the defeat of her puts her closer. The defeat of Soprano puts her closer to Ylang Ylang than the market has it. I know the Ylang Ylang win was funny last time. Maybe she did well in the circumstances, but at 9.0 win and place, I thought she was well worth a shout. In the Moy Glare, City of Troy, Don and Steve, feel free to come in. 1.6. Is that not very fair?
Yeah, well, he's taken on Bucanero Fuerte, obviously, the Railway Stakes winner, the Phoenix Stakes winner. So, what price is he? What price is Bucanero Fuerte?
Bucanero Fuerte is 4.0.
Yeah, look, he was so good in the Superlative Stakes, and he's a short price for the Guineas, so he has to be that type of price. 1.6 is it? Yeah, I suppose it's about right, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I guess the thing is, Bucanero Fuerte, you might say, is the only Group 1 winner in the field, and is that price? Maybe that's a little bit too big. I don't know. I was so blown away with City of Troy. Steve, do you have any view on City of Troy as a 2-year-old?
Well, he's obviously very smart. He's only run twice, and I wouldn't be betting odds on a horse like that. I wouldn't bet odds on anyway. But like Don says, Bucanero Fuerte, who I can't pronounce, and I've tried it millions of times. But Henry Longfellow. It wouldn't be unusual for Aidan O'Brien to win it with his second string, and Henry Longfellow's won twice as well. Obviously not at the same level, and he's got an exceptional pedigree. So, yeah, I'll be sitting that one out. Thanks.
He's been declared, hasn't he, Henry Longfellow?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was, if City of Troy was coming here, thinking was that he'd go on to the Dewhurst instead. But that's interesting that he's declared as well. He could do both.
The City of Troy won't be that price if Ryan Moore decides he wants to ride the other one, will he? Which won't happen, I'm sure. But
Giles says City of Troy looks extraordinary, has the blood to back it up. Final question: the Sports Elephant says Kyprios a banker, lads. Can't be, can he? Can't be a banker off the back of the absence.
He's the epitome of a horse that I don't want to back and I don't want to take on. So again, boringly, I'm seeing it out.
He could be so far superior to his rivals. Even coming off the back of a break, like he had a really significant setback, obviously, but it'd be good to see him back.
Good stuff. Well done, all. Thanks everyone for joining in. Keeping an eye out for insights.matchbook.com. That's where Daniel Hussey's going to be putting all of these selections that go up over the couple of days. And it's a fabulous weekend. So we bid you all farewell and enjoy it.